what comes first to you?
Oh my gosh. It's usually a sex scene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cozy Cat Reader channel. Today we have, I think, the most exciting thing ever. Jo Segura. I'm gesturing like you're behind me and you're not, you're in front of me. She's here. She's very kindly agreed to do an interview with us. So I have notes off the side of questions to ask, but Jo, you want to say hi?
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a lovely sunny day out in Seattle, and this is just a lovely way to wrap up my week.
Me as well. It's also sunny here in Cincinnati, so soaking up the sun and the finally good weather that we're getting.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay, so my first question is after three very successful books, they're some of my favorite contemporary roms that I've read.
Thank you.
And knowing that you're working on a fourth, what is the most surprising and the most rewarding parts about being a traditionally published author?
The surprising thing is that people other than my friends and family actually want to read my books and enjoy them. For the longest time before you publish a book, and I think this goes for indie or trad authors, you it's a solitary act. So you're doing it by yourself. No one's reading it except for maybe like your critique partner, or maybe you have a family member who will read it, like a sister or something like that. But when you finally have your books out in the world and other people want to read it, um, that is so cool. Like, just to know that people are out there reading my books. So that's probably been the best thing about it. Like, and just knowing that my books really resonate with people. When I hear from readers who identify with my books in some way, whether they're in school to be archaeologists, or they grew up watching Indiana Jones, or they're a big Lara Croft fan, or they're Latina reader and they see a character who's like them in a book. The ones that have been the most rewarding have been Latina archaeological people, like, whether they're archaeologists or in school, and they're like, I never thought I'd see a book with someone like me in the book. That is so cool. And I know, like, when I read books and I see characters who have, backgrounds like mine, or an interest that I have that might be like an unusual interest, and you feel seen, that is like the coolest thing. And so I love that I'm able to do that for other people.
You're probably inspiring a group of both men and women to get into archaeology as well and to try things that they haven't, because romance is an adult reading, but I also know that like in college people will be reading that. And I think
Yeah.
that's really amazing too. It's like you're taking something that's a passion of yours
Mhm.
and quite literally inspiring people to passions of theirs. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been, especially because Indiana Jones is an older franchise, right? I think the first one came out in I don't actually know when
I don't
Raiders of
know
the Lost
either.
Ark came out, like early 80s, maybe. So, a lot of people who are in college now, they probably know of Indiana Jones, but it wasn't like as formative for people who are in college now as it was for me. And so it's, kind of fun to like kind of bring that back. And there's so many fun adventure movies and books and whatnot. And so to be part of that genre is pretty exciting.
Yeah. And to your point, it definitely, like, I also grew up with Indiana Jones. But I think my first introduction to Indiana, no, it was my first Indiana, like the fourth movie that they did.
Oh yeah. Crystal Skull.
Yes, I'm like, that wasn't my first. I think I'd watched them, but then I went to the theater to see that one, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
wait, this is not the same. And so I went back home and then like rewatched. So it's nice that you can like pull from the original trilogy, which
Yes.
prime work.
Exactly. I mean, I still love Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, but that fourth movie, we're just going to pretend that one doesn't exist. Dial of Destiny was okay,
I don't
but
think I've seen that one yet.
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, after seeing Crystal Skull, you're like, wow, this one's excellent.
I think after seeing Crystal Skull, I was like, "I'll just stick to the
I
trilogy."
know, the first 3 are so good,
It's
so,
so good.
yeah.
Okay. My next question is, you're very open about being a writer and a lawyer with supportive colleagues. I've seen you in 2 different interviews, and I think in both of them, you've, like, really highlighted having that support system and that they're good with, like you're like, "I need to go on a book tour because I'm also a published author," and they are totally supportive of it. Um, so I guess my question is, like, knowing how much, or at least from the interviews, seeing how much you love law and having those supportive colleagues, do you ever see yourself leaving law and becoming a full-time author? Or do you see yourself continuing to marry the two careers and passions until retirement?
Well, I'll start by saying I don't love law. I enjoy what I do, and I find what I do to be very interesting, but it's not something I'm really passionate about. There are a lot of lawyers out there who do love the law, and they are super passionate about their jobs. I think I have a pretty cool job, um, but do I love it? No. Do I enjoy it? Do I think that it's a pretty good gig? Yes, I do. So let's just put that out there. As far as would I ever quit the practice of law and just be a full-time author? I would love that. I think that would be amazing, but realistically, I don't think that that is something that would work for me. Um, Part of it is, I don't think it would be that I'd get bored. Like, I don't get bored very easily. But a lot of it is the way you get paid in publishing, especially as a trad author, is not very consistent. I live in the Seattle area, which is very expensive. And so, having a consistent income is something that I really would rely on. Um, I don't think I would miss it. I wouldn't miss practicing law, but, I think that's, like, a big part of it, and I think for me to be able to take that leap, I would have to be a little bit more established as an author where I have just more of a guaranteed income stream. So that's really a lot of it. I know there are a lot of authors who do, write full time. I think especially with indie authors, like, you they can be really, really lucrative. For trad authors, I don't have another source of income. I'm a single person, and so I don't have, like, a spouse who could help support me if I have, like, a low sales month, that type of thing. So, whatever works for people, I think, is great. If I could, I would. Realistically, probably not. I think I'm also just that type of person who, you know, I I don't take a lot of risks, which is probably why I'm a lawyer. I'm very risk adverse, and so I think that would be maybe a little too risky for me.
I That's so funny. Matt and I were talking about being risk averse people literally an hour ago.
See?
Um, but I think it's really, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think Alexander Bracken is like one of the few traditionally published authors that I can think of that is full time an author.
Mhm,
But I really appreciated seeing people like you and Allie Hazelwood who have these really intense, like from someone who is on the outside of that,
mhm,
full-time job, and also you're like, "Yeah,
mhm.
I publish a book every year, and they're awesome books," and I think it's really inspiring, um, to see that. I think for romance novels specifically, we get this beautiful concept that shows sorry,
No
that shows that
problem.
women can have the career they want, can find love, and
Mhm.
like you were saying earlier, see yourself represented in a book, and then, like, you are just like, "Yeah, and I'm a living example. I have a full-time career as a lawyer, and it's pretty cool, and I'm also a writer. It's
Mhm.
awesome."
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I mean, I love being able to do both things. I like having that creative outlet because I do a fair amount of writing for my day job, but it's a different type of writing. It's much more technical, like analytical type of writing where I don't get to put in a ton of emotion. And so having that creative outlet with being an author has been just really great to still have the opportunity to write the type of things that I really want to write. Um, but I really do get into writing like things like briefs and motions and stuff. I do enjoy that part. And I don't like the deadlines, but I do enjoy the writing part of it.
It's cool because it's working different parts of your brain, even though
Mhm.
you're doing the same process, because your
Yes.
analytical side of your brain is firing for when you're writing the briefs, and then your creative side of your brain is firing for when you're making masterpieces.
Yes. Yes.
All right, my next question is your first three books follow your love of archaeology and fall into this adventure rom subgenre. Do you think you'll ever write a story that follows a lawyer or is close to like having a main character adjacent to law? I've seen a couple of books recently that have like a main character in law, and I thought it was interesting that though that's your other job, you've been sticking to adventure romance so far.
I actually did write a book with that was kind of a legal contemporary romance. It was one of the first things that I wrote once I started taking writing a little bit more seriously. I don't know if I'll ever publish that book. I mean, it was probably, I think it was the second full length novel that I wrote as an adult. And I've learned a lot since then. You know, maybe I'd take a look at it again and see, but right now, that's not where my passion is. So I can't say I would never do it because I've already done it. But would I do it again? I'm not sure. Maybe, probably not in my practice area because I don't think it's not very sexy. But you never know. You never
Yeah.
know. I mean, I have a lot of ideas in my head. Like I literally have probably 5 different book ideas swirling around in my head right now, trying to debate which one, I might want to write next. So I won't say never, but not right now.
On pause. This
Yeah.
is not like completely answering a different question. So, is your first traditionally published book your third book then, or did you write and get it published and then do the law and then
Oh,
go back?
oh girl, no, no. Uh-uh. So I didn't actually take it like super seriously for a long time. Like I got a little more serious about like wanting to write, but not necessarily publish books. And so I kind of just wrote for myself for a really long time. I used to name my books in my um on my computer, book one, book two, book three, and then I give it a title later. Raiders of the Lost Heart was book 10.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't finish all of those. Like, I think I probably didn't finish maybe 3 of those ones. So it's probably more like my 7th book that I completely wrote. Um, a couple of those books I can't even look at. Like, what the first one is so bad. I looked at it once after I had already gotten my contract for Raiders, and I looked at it and I was just like, "Oh my God, what was I thinking?" But you have to start somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of new writers think they have to write like the best book ever, right? And so it takes a really long time to just get it on the page because you're really trying to make it amazing. Sometimes you just got to write some slop. And eventually it might, turn into something else. Maybe you edit it and it becomes a great book. But, I know a lot of authors who their first book that they wrote, they tried to get it published, didn't get it published, and then later on, they were able to get that book published, but it had changed some because they changed as an author, and, they are working with an editor, and so the editor helped them to develop the story a little bit differently. I think one, I'm pretty sure this is correct. One is Jessica Joyce's The X-Files.
Okay.
I'm almost positive that she had originally tried to get that book published and it didn't sell. And then she wrote You with a View, You with a View sold, and then The X-Files became her second book. And that book is amazing. It's so, so good. And people love that book. And so, I think that it's really important to just get the words on the page. Maybe you'll do something with it at some point, maybe not. That's okay. But just exercising your brain like that and writing it can teach you so, so, so much. So,
You're
yeah.
gonna get better. I know when I first got back into reading as an adult, it was Bridgerton
Mhm,
because I just watched the first season. I was like, wait, this is a book. And now I have a lot of Julia Quinn's like backlog.
mhm,
And I find myself going on to some of her like first works. And I'm
mhm.
like, they're still amazing, still
Right.
amazing. But you can tell how much she's grown over
Mhm,
being an author for that long. So I guess it doesn't surprise me. Like it does surprise me that there were 7 other books
mhm,
before Radars, but it also doesn't because it was really well written. Uh,
mhm.
so like you can see that growth even though we can't see that growth.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. When you're writing, what comes first to you? The location idea for the adventure, the plot of the story, or the characters? And is it the same or is it different?
It's usually oh my gosh, it's usually a sex scene. And I and I'm being totally serious where I'm like, "Man, I'd really like to write this sex scene with these people." And so it kinda starts from there, like, Raiders truly started with like, the first intimate scene in Raiders was the first thing that came to my mind about writing that book, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, 2 archaeologists on a dig and this scene, oh, this would be great." And that's pretty much what I wrote. I didn't write that scene. I'm a linear writer, so I write,
Mhm.
chapter 1 all the way to the end, and so that scene comes about halfway through the book. So it took me a while before I actually wrote that scene, but the whole book was really based on me wanting to write this scene.
Yeah.
So it kind of is more like I have these characters who are in like a situation that I want to explore more. And so then I have to kind of figure out what what is the story going to be that surrounds that?
And like how they get there.
How do they get there and what is their conflict going to be? So I'm definitely more character driven than I am um, necessarily plot driven or setting driven. On my most recent book that I just finished, it was so interesting because they wanted me to write the back cover copy. So, the 3 paragraphs on the back of the book before I had even started writing the book. And
Oh,
so, that is very plot and character driven. And I drafted it and I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I'm writing. And then when I actually wrote the book, that's not what I wrote. And so it changed a little bit, but it's fine, you have to start somewhere. And so I really do like to figure out like how do the characters know each other or how did they meet and how's that going to drive the story forward rather than trying to plot out the whole book because I'm not a plotter. I am not. I wish I was. It might make my drafting a little bit easier if I was, but I'm not.
that actually goes really well into one of my other questions is just has anything your characters done has that surprised you? Like were you writing and then you like wrote this and you go, oh, that's kind of weird, but okay.
Yes, that happens all the time. In my most recent book, I don't want to say too much because it it's kind of an important part of the story, but I had named the main character, the male main character, his name is Barrett, and he goes by Bear. And it turned into like I just thought that the nickname Bear would be kind of fun,
Mhm.
but it ended up like turning into like an actual like part of the plot having this name Bear and it like I can't tell you. I know I'm being like really cryptic, but it'll pay off, don't worry. It just was so interesting that just this little thing turned into like a main like part of the story, just having this nickname of Bear.
That's so
And so it's like stuff like that, especially when you're writing adventure type books where they're trying to solve some sort of mystery. Because my next book is still another adventure rom-com. And so, you're trying to like have like these little pieces to line up at the end of the story so that whenever they find whatever it is that they're looking for, there's like a good payoff for it. And sometimes things will happen. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I'll do a little research and I'm like, oh, wow, like that might work. And I mean, even in this book, they're on an island and I'm like writing all this setting about the waterfalls and this and that. Well, then I did some research and you know what? They don't have waterfalls on these islands.
cool.
So I'm like, well, shoot, what am I going to do? But I discovered that this one island in this area has, like, this one particular island has these freshwater pools. And that played into the story then. So, I like doing the research and finding things where it's like, oh, this actually works even better than what I had originally planned. Um, but you don't know until you're actually drafting and you're doing your research and finding those little nuggets.
Sometimes you think it's just going to be a fun nickname, and then we're going to find out, I think maybe January next year,
I think
that
you will. Yes.
that it's more than that.
Yes, it's more than that.
Okay, hopping back to your first three books, because they're kind of all in the same universe. And I
Mhm.
think based off of your interview from Toledo, the fourth book isn't necessarily in the same universe, or we're not going to get as many cameos. But if your couples from your first three novels all bumped into each other at a conference, what kind of shenanigans would happen?
Okay, so first, my fourth book is in the same universe.
Okay.
It's not archaeology though.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so you will still like hear some familiar names, but they are new characters and they're not archaeologists. If the first three books main characters met at a conference, what kind of shenanigans? Well, Corey and Danny would be getting into trouble for sure.
I feel
For
like
sure.
they'd be best friends, like
Yes.
instant best friends too.
Yes. I think they would be getting into trouble. Ford and Theo and probably Miri would be like, you guys are going to get us in trouble. Like, stop it. And they'd probably be trying to like, fix everything that Corey and Danny are doing that's bad. And then Rafa would be in the background, probably just like capturing everything and taking pictures as evidence for later.
Nice.
And so like they'll like meet up after that and they'll be like, remember that night? And like, we don't talk about that night. And then Rafa would be like, oh, I got the pictures.
It's like, I've got evidence.
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what would happen.
In
Yes.
my brain, I kind of pictured them like all eventually stumbling into like a karaoke bar. And like
Oh.
you said, Rafa has like, he's like, you guys might not remember it, but I have some great photos.
Yes. Yes. Oh, who would be the best singer?
I think I think Ford would have a surprisingly good voice, but I think Theo would steal it.
I think so. Yeah, because Theo's pretty perfect in every way. So he would have a perfect voice too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be Theo. Yeah.
The girls would all just be like, yeah, sing another song.
Yes. I think Miri would also be a good singer. Like kind of like surprising, like just has like a beautiful voice. I feel like Corey would be up there and she would be rocking it, but it wouldn't necessarily be like
She has
beautiful
the
voice.
confidence,
Yes.
and that's going to carry it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel like she's the one who gets her and Danny get everyone to go to the karaoke bar.
Yes.
And then like the boys just blow them away.
Yes. I think so. Yes. And the girls will just be like watching them like these are our men.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's of course after, like you said, the shenanigans they get into at the conference with.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they stumble into the karaoke bar as
Yeah.
they're like running away from like security guards or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the vision I had, because I'm like, I feel like they would all be really good friends, and I know they kind of know each other in their
Yes.
universes. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they would be friends for sure.
And yeah, Danny and Corey, I feel like maybe they haven't met before, but like they kind of lock eyes and be like, we have the same energy and we're
Pretty
best friends.
much. Yes. I think Danny's a little bit more like gets into trouble like on purpose. Corey is more trouble finds her and but she like takes care of business. Yes.
Literally, you took the words from my brain of trouble finds her.
Yes.
She's gonna
Yes.
take care of
Trouble
herself.
finds her. Yes. She's not seeking it out. Danny is seeking it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
I feel like I'd be more, honestly, I'm not either Danny or Corey. I'm probably Mira. Like I'm like, I don't want trouble.
I'm a
I'm
Mary.
probably not gonna be. I just
I'm
want to
a
swing on vines in the middle of the jungle.
I think I'm a mix between Miri and Theo and a hint of Danny. Like Danny is like familial relations, like how close she is with her family and like the way she feels about duty and things like that is very much like me. But as far as like being like rule followers and all that, I'm a Mary and I'm a Theo.
Risk adverse people.
And I am almost perfect, just like Theo.
Exactly. That didn't even need to be said. It radiates off of you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we've kind of been talking about it a little bit, but is there anything you can tell us about your work in progress, book 4? It sounds like maybe it's finished,
It
correct?
is finished. Well, my dev edits are due on Monday, but it is written. It's coming out in January. It's called Guilty Treasure,
Love.
and it is two journalists. So there's where the connection is with the Raiders world, who former coworkers. Something happened in the past. They're now roommates. They go to a hockey game and a kiss cam marriage proposal gone wrong. People think that they're engaged and they win a trip to this island that is fabled to be the site of a pirate shipwreck from many, many years ago.
I think you just said like literally all of my favorite things in romances.
Yes. We got fake engagement. We got kiss cam marriage proposal. We got pirates. We
On,
got
on an island.
on an island. We got forced proximity. We got former coworkers, second
Oh.
chance. We got it all. Yes.
I mean, if you need an arc reader, I'm going to
Yes.
be reading it anyways. I tell everyone, I'm like, Jo Segura is doing the Lord's work by having a book come out in January every year, because you've just made it through all the holidays. It's still cold, at least where I am, it's still cold.
Mhm.
And it's always my like bright spot in January. I like stop
Thank you.
everything. If I don't have it I normally have it pre-ordered through my local bookstore. Um, Joseph Beth Booksellers, you've been there before. And then I like, if I can't go pick it up, Matt goes and picks it up for me so that I can come home and sit down and start reading it, because I always look forward to them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I like writing these books that are like kind of escapes, you know. That's when I wrote Raiders, I wrote it during the pandemic when everything was locked down and we couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't travel, you couldn't do anything. And I just wanted to write something that was fun and that was an escape. And so that really is what started this whole series, is just wanting to give people like an adventure somewhere else when we couldn't go do something else. So, yes.
You've definitely succeeded, in my opinion. And every January, you give me a nice tropical warm break
Yeah,
from the snow that's actually my everyday.
I know. I know. When I was in Cincinnati last year for my book tour, you had just had a snowstorm.
Hmm.
It's not great. Not great.
No. And you're from the Ohio area, so you've had your
Ah,
experience
yes.
facing the snow.
Yes. But I moved for a reason. So when I go back to it, I'm just like, oh, I don't like this. We do get snow out
This
in
is why I
Seattle, but
moved. But
it's
not,
different.
I would say it's not as much, or
No, it's not as much and not as often.
those are great. We're currently talking about just like a random aside. We're currently talking about like if we want to stay in Cincinnati, and some of the places we're looking at are further north, and we're like, oh man, we're going to be committing to more snow.
More snow. Yeah, that's
But
rough.
anyways, I have one more question, and I feel like this is like my most lighthearted. It's because it's been very serious questions this
Oh,
whole
yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
Um, what are you currently reading, or is your current favorite read that you're going to recommend to everybody? And kind of like a secondary question is, do you have any favorite non-romance genres that you like to read, or are you like full send all the time? If I'm not lawyering or authoring, I'm reading romance.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lot there. So
Yeah, sorry.
first, yeah. So first, I would say my two main genres are romance and thrillers.
Nice.
I love a thriller. I love the twists and turns of a thriller. Um, I just find them to be really interesting. So if I'm not reading a romance, I'm probably reading a thriller, sometimes general fiction. I am currently reading Unbroken, which is actually something that normally I would not read. I don't really read a lot of historical nonfiction or war types of books. It's just not really something that I gravitate towards. I did see the movie, but it's just not something that I would normally go and pick up. However, I was talking with my niece and nephews about books the last time I was in Toledo, just back in February, and they were talking about books that they had read that they really liked and books that they wanted me to read. And that was one of them. They gave me like 4 or 5 books that they're like, "Oh, you should read this." And, you know, I feel very strongly about supporting like reading and young people's interests, especially my niece and nephews. They were very engaged in this conversation. And so I decided, you know what? They told me you should read this book, you should read these books, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to read these books. And so, it'll give us something that we can talk about later, like, hey, I did read that book that you talked about, and let's talk about it. So I'm reading that right now. It's it's a long
It's a
book,
lot.
so it'll
Yeah.
take me a while to get through that, especially because, like, if I'm reading, like, a romance, I or a thriller, I can read that in, like, 2 days. This is not gonna be a two-day book.
It's
Um,
I've
but
read it. It's a lot heavier, and then
yes,
you're like, "Oh my god, like, this is real. This is based on someone's
yes,
life. This is someone's life. It's
yes,
not even based on."
exactly. Yeah, I mean, just, like, reading I'm only about 100 pages in, but, just reading that this is just a different time too.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting, but I'm glad I picked that up, especially because I like to try to read things that are outside of my normal whenever I can. The last book that I read, so I have like this little, let me see if you can see it. I have this little thing. I've only read 10 books this year. I have to update it because it still says 9.
Oh, that's
But
so cute.
yes, so I did read 10, which is a little slow for me, but I've been really busy. So the last book I read was called Fossil Feud by Maggie North. And so do I have it down here? No, it's upstairs. It's really fun. It's right up my alley. It's about paleontologists who are digging for dinosaur bones. Like, so cool, right? So that was really entertaining. And another book that's coming out that I just read is called Aphrodite in Pieces by Laura Bear. It is um it's about Aphrodite's life. and she goes to a sculptor to have him do a sculpture of her. And while he's chiseling out this sculpture in marble, she's telling him her life story. It
Hmm.
was fascinating, and it was such a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. I think it's coming out this month.
I say, I think you also talked about that one in Toledo, and it's on my TBR already. So
Yeah, it was really good. And then the last one I'll suggest is Alicia Thompson's in every in every possible way. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Like, I love Alicia's books. It is set in Ireland, and it's like a day, it's a little more than a day in Ireland, and it's just wonderful. So check that out.
very nice. If you enjoy some Greek mythology retellings or reimaginings, I just finished up I, Medusa by Aviana Gray, I think is the author's
Okay.
name.
Okay.
Um, and it chronicles Medusa's life and how we as a society have like pictured her, but it's through her own perspective. So we see
Mhm.
her in the very beginning of her life when she's still with her parents, through her work with the goddess Athena in
Mhm.
the temples, and then throughout being a monster.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I
if
would
you
like
like
that.
that, it was really well written, and it's not as little concerned of there being some scenes that were a little bit hard to read,
Mhm.
but there's nothing. Rape is mentioned, but it's
Mm.
not detailed.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so I like to have content warnings, and
Mhm.
there was none. So I had a friend who had read it first. I'm like, hey, I just need to know, like, is this going to be
Mhm.
something that's like too challenging? And she was like, no. She's like, it is mentioned, but you're not experiencing it, and it's.
Okay.
She's like, there's a scene where consent is questionable, but again,
Mm.
it's brief and it's handled really well.
Mhm.
So that's one of my current would recommends, especially if you enjoy Greek mythology.
Yes, so it sounds very similar to the Aphrodite and Pieces book, where, it's all these things that we think we know about Aphrodite, but it's in her own words. She's telling us, no, this was actually my life. So, yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Alrighty, those are all the questions I had. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview and for helping out a small creator.
Well, I was so happy to. I mean, I just love that you just came right up to me at the events and introduced yourself and came back to the next one and you just asked. I mean, I love doing stuff like this. I love talking about books and writing and talking with other people about it. So I'm really happy that it worked out.
I am too. I was so nervous, and I actually Matt was in Cincinnati, and so I called him on my drive home, and I'm like, I did it. She seemed like interested in it, and I just put myself out there, and he was like, yeah, go put yourself out there, girl. What's the worst thing that can happen? Someone can say no, thank you.
Exactly. I mean, we all get rejections, right? But
Yeah.
I was so happy to do it, and especially for one of my hometown peeps. So T-town is where it's at, right?
Yeah, let's go. Hometown Toledo.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody else. I hope you enjoyed this week's video with Jo. Give her some love in the comments. And until next week, I hope that you guys all are enjoying a really good read. Maybe you'll take one of Jo's suggestions, and we'll see you all next week.